Hello everyone, welcome to Practical GCP. Today I want to talk about a powerful combination, an agent you can deploy to Cloud Run, implementing the A2A protocol, and how you can register and use it within Gemini Enterprise, which is now in public preview. As usual, to add a disclaimer, the views and opinions expressed in this video are my own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of my employer. So think about deploying agents in a way that you could have one or multiple or hundreds of agents. But the problem right now is they all have their own framework, and it can be making the interoperability difficult, brutal, and expensive without some sort of common standard. So this is where agent-to-agent protocol or A2A comes in. So what is A2A? So A2A is an open standard for AI agents. The way I would like to think about it in a simple way is think it's like the HTTP for agents. It is standard allows them to discover, communicate, and collaborate. And the most important thing to me is you now have a way to manage agents at scale because they all implement the same protocol. Now, why does it matter? So, because of a common standard, now from interoperability point of view, any A2A compliant agent can talk to each other, right? From a decoupling point of view, you can build your agent once and use it everywhere because all the compatible clients can access the agent in the same way. And it's reusable as well because your agent now becomes a composable microservice. They can speak to each other. You can discover them through a common standard. This is the key to scale. What I want to show you today is also, with no surprise, I'm using Agent Starter Pack again. And thank you for the contributors. There is actually now a base agent that implements the A2A protocol that I can deploy with ADK to Cloud Run, right? So our challenge this time is again to try to do this in 5 minutes. So just very quickly, before I jump in to the demo, I just want to quickly go through what Agent Starter Pack actually does from a high level, right? Look at this diagram. So on the left, you have Agent Starter Pack. When you use Agent Starter Pack to create a A2A compatible agent, it does a number of things. You've got the ADK agent. This still stays the same. And then what it does is to do an A2A implementation and integrate that into Fast API and expose it through a web server. So this is what allows the any A2A client to talk to this box here, right? That's what Agent Starter Pack does for you. If you don't use it, you're trying to do it from scratch, that's okay as well. But just keep in mind, these are the key components that you need to implement because by default, you would, let's say if you use ADK, the SDK, you would only have this part, right? So you need to also do the A2A implementation, wrap it with the Fast API framework if you wish, and then you can expose it through the web server. Now let's look at a demo. I will use Agent Starter Pack to create a A2A compatible ADK agent, right? So you can see I've created one already previously, but I'm going to create a new one so you can see how quickly I can actually do this. The old one is called the A2A weather agent. That's what it does by default, but I'm going to create a new one with slightly different name so I can differentiate the new one from the old one. So when I run this, as usual, it's going to just create a boilerplate of my weather agent. However, in this case, I'm going to choose option number 2, which is a new one has been created recently. So you can see this is a base agent that built with Google Agent Development Kit, which is ADK, and A2A protocol, right? So I'm going to choose number 2. So this will create the base agent. And for the deployment target, I'm going to choose Cloud Run because in this case, I want to show you how I can actually expose the A2A protocol using the Cloud Run implementation and also expose to Gemini Enterprise later on, right? So I'm going to choose number 2 here. And finally, although we're not going to use that today, I'm still going to make it create the Google Cloud build CI/CD pipeline. Skip the region, leave that as default. The project ID, let me grab my project ID, which is this one. And then it will start creating. What you want to pay attention to is this app folder. Right in here, you have the agent.py, which is exactly the same as before. If you deploy to Agent Engine, you have the two tools, one is get weather, one is get time. Right. The thing that's slightly different is the Fast API app. This file, think it as basically creating a wrapper for ADK to make it compatible with A2A. You see, there's a bunch of libraries being imported on A2A Agent Executor, Agent Card Builder. So these are very helpful. So these are very helpful functions that help you to wrap the ADK agent as a A2A agent. So now all it does is to build agent card, which later on, actually, in fact, you can retrieve it through an API call that I will show you in a bit. But also, the whole thing is wrapped around the fast API framework, which then subsequently get used in the UVCon web server, right? This is how it compiles the whole thing together, which is normally done for you in Agent Engine, but in Cloud Run, it's still only less than 100 lines of code. Then it has done the whole thing for you. You don't really need to change much at all in this file. What I found is because the majority of the logic you will be changing will still be in agent.py and other things that the agent.py will be using, such as your utils, your libraries, your tracing, right? So, but just keep in mind, this is the most important file, then this is where A2A gets implemented. It's not magic. Right now, you have, look at the basic structure here, right? The next thing we'll do is make install. Oops, we need to go into the agent, make install. Right, what this is doing is just to create the virtual environment, so now you can run it locally. If you do make playground now, this will send to the same interface as how you normally do an ADK agent, that you can test everything locally. I'm not going to do that now, but instead I'm going to just deploy this to Cloud Run. You see, this time is quite different. Now, with Cloud Run, for anyone who is familiar with Cloud Run already, you can see this is using the Cloud Run beta run command to get the A2A compatible agent deployed into a Cloud Run service. This will take a bit of time, probably a few minutes, and then you will have it available under this tab once it's created. So now we have deployed our A2A agent to Cloud Run. But what makes it open and why the A2A protocol is actually important? The key thing I want to cover is the A2A agent card. For every single service that you deploy, implement the A2A protocol, you have a URL that links to this .well-known agent card.json file. This is the place where you can retrieve, right? So this applies to any services that implements the protocol. Now you can retrieve the agent card. The agent card high level, you see you have agent name, the input output, the transport protocol, the URL, the protocol version, and the version of the agent, right? So these defines the high level of the agent. But then you get to the next level, which is the skills. You have the skill. In this case, this is the boilerplate weather agent, right? So you have the model itself, which is the LLM skill. You have the get weather tool. You see, this is the tool itself is tagged as LLM and tools, right? And then you have the get current time tool, which is another tool in the boilerplate agent that you can get in this case, the time, right? From a requires a city name in this case. Now you can simply use a Python client to make a request to the deployed A2A agent and then get responses. This is very similar to a normal agent, let's say an ADK agent that's not implementing A2A protocol, but it will have all the skills registered in this case, and then you can use the common protocol and libraries to retrieve the responses. So here is a simple code that I will share with you later on as well that you can use to in streaming mode to make a request, such as asking the weather, and it will respond with a bunch of events, right? So in this case, if you look at this, I've actually turned the events. I made a request and I turned it to something look a little bit better. So you have 5 stages. You have the user input, submit the query, which is in this case, you can say, hey, what's the weather in New York, right? Then the agent calls a tool. This is a separate event. Then you select the appropriate skill. In this case, it calls the get weather event, the tool. Then it's the execution. Execute this and then give you a result, which is 90 degrees and sunny, right? Then it gives you the response, which is the false event with the processes and formats the results. And finally, it has the complete events with task finished, and it will have a status in here as well. So this is a simple way that you can call the A2A agent deployed to Cloud Run from anywhere. Next, let's talk about Gemini Enterprise. In my view, it is a very powerful combination to bring A2A enabled agents into Gemini Enterprise. So this feature is right now in public preview. What that means is when you deploy a agent, let's say ADK agent on Cloud Run that implements the A2A protocol, you can now register that into Gemini Enterprise. If you haven't used Gemini Enterprise before, just very quickly, it's an advanced agentic AI platform from Google Cloud designed to bring the full power of Google AI to every employee and every workflow within a business. As you can see from the simple interface, there's many things you can do, such as doing the chat with just the simple models with ground truth of data within your organizations. Then you can do notebook LLM, idea generation, deep research. But then very uniquely, what you can also do, you can see here, is to bring A2A enabled agent. In this case, is the very simple weather boilerplate agent into the powerful chat interface. So I want to dive this a little bit deeper because from my past experience in the industry, one of the biggest issues is always, let's say, whatever application you're building, whether that's quality checking or getting metadata from databases, or if you want to execute some actions, right, in any kind of systems, or permission management, right? This is one of the things I've been building bespoke applications for before as well. Then you would end up with many different kind of applications that you have to manage that can be very, very difficult to, let's say, even for access management. If you're building a lot of different interfaces like GUIs, is very hard to manage. But now you have an option to bring these agents, whether it's collecting data, whether it's doing actions, all within, let's say, Gemini Enterprise. As because they're all A2A enabled, you could deploy them somewhere else, but you could also use the simple chat interface to bring them in here, right? So what this means is when you log in the morning, you can say uh, the weather agent is probably like oversimplified example, but you can ask the agent questions all within the same unified platform. So if it's just no code agent, or if it's just a simple search with grounded data, that's probably just very basic, right? But once you started having the power to build any agent behind the scenes, deploy into services like Cloud Run, now you can actually really kind of unlock the power of the multi-agent systems in your organization. So that is my view. So the way this works is another high-level diagram. Uh, so you still have this thing, right? So you still have agent starter pack. You've seen this in the previous slides. To build the ADK agent boilerplate, the A2A implementation, fast APIs framework, and then finally expose via the web server. So this is your A2A compatible agent. Now, we talked about the other ways, such as just using the simple request libraries in Python to make calls to the A2A agent. But now you can also use Gemini Enterprise to talk to the same thing, right? There's no difference because both of these implements the A2A protocol, right? You can see this is actually quite a powerful pattern now. So if you build lots of agents from before, because you don't have a common standard to implement something like the agent card, it'll be very difficult to know, what the agent does, what are the versions, what's the protocols, what is the input and output, what is the skills of the agent, right? You wouldn't know. But now, with the common standard, you now have a way to register agents in a way that you can manage at scale. Now let's look into a demo. So now you can see this has been deployed to Cloud Run. let's start with the A2A folder and the app. So in the A2A folder, there are three things I've created I think is quite useful to you. One is this test underscore A2A pi. This is where you can easily make request to the A2A agent, deploy to Cloud Run, and get response to it. I'll show you how it works quickly. So this is basically where whenever you have an A2A compatible client, or you just want to use the A2A protocol yourself in the application, then you can do this easily, right? The other thing I want to show you is the register to Gemini Enterprise script. It's a little bit messy because it's only just been released in preview. What I want to show you is things like the things you will require in order to register with Gemini Enterprise, so you can use it, such as the most important thing, the agent card definition, right? So there's some utility functions here. It's basically fetching tokens, which you can do yourself or just use what I've got. But let's go into the first one to start with. So here, let's just go into the folder of app A2A, right? First, I'll run the UV run. Let's do test A2A pi. Right, you can see it got the tokens and it started making requests. It's probably not the easiest to read this. This is just a bunch of streaming events that came back from the request. So what I can do is I'll paste this just into the Gemini app. Let me share this with you. And then I'll just say, make this plain text, right? So it's much easier to read what's happening here. So you can see here, what is happening is you initially make the request, right? So hello, the weather in New York, row is the user, timestamp, and the state is submitted. Then you go into the processing state. You make a function call, right, called get weather. You run a query, you have the timestamp, and then you have a function that has a response is 90 degrees and sunny, right? Then you have the agent response. This gives you the response back to you. And then the role is the agent, it's not the tool anymore. Then you have the timestamp as well. And finally, you have the final output with artifact test, the final state, which is completed, and then the timestamp. So this is very useful because you could use just a simple, request library to make requests to it however you like. Or, so this is just one way, or I can show you how you can register this app which is deployed called Weather Agent 2, I believe. Yeah, into Gemini Enterprise. So there's a bunch of things that you need to set up, such as the app ID, the agent name, which you need to grab from the agent card, a bunch of information of the agent itself, display name, description. Most importantly is the agent card description, right? So I'm just going to run this script and I will explain the output in a minute. So let me run a UV run and I will do register to Gemini Enterprise. Okay, so what it's doing now is extracted the agent card from the Cloud Run endpoint, where you have something called if I go to the utilities, you can see to retrieve the agent card, you have a well-known path. And this is where I showed you earlier in the slide that you can get from the agent card.json file, right? But let's have a look at the JSON, just make it a little bit pretty. And again, if we just go here, right, just make this look pretty, right? And then we can see the agent card definition. So look, so this is where I showed you in the slides, and then that's how I extracted the information. You have the weather agent tool, you have the description, you have the protocol, the version, the URL. This is my Cloud Run service. You can see this is under A2A and the app, which is the application name. This matches to the folder name I have in the agent. And then it has a bunch of protocols such as the input, the output that you can set, the preferred transfer is JSON RPC. And then this is the important part. You have the skills and tools. So keep in mind, and one of the things that the agent starter pack is doing that is very, very powerful in that boilerplate is it's extracted the information from the agent and the tools to combine to create these skills, right? So here, I did not create this myself. This is extracted from the ADK agent I've built automatically. So this really saves you a lot of time trying to duplicate your code and define this multiple times. So here you have the core model, which is the weather agent, and then you have the get weather skill, which is weather agent get weather, and then the get current time. So these are the links to the tools. You can see this is the LLM type. Then you have the LLM and tools. Then you have LLM and tools, right? Then here it gives you more details on the another tool, which you have two. One is get weather, the other one is get current time. So that's how the agent card is put together to be representative on that particular agent you deployed following the A2A protocol. So now the agent is deployed to Gemini Enterprise. So hopefully I can show you how it works in there. Right, let me share this tab with you. This is Gemini Enterprise backend, and I've registered two agents. Okay, I shouldn't have used the same display name, but you can see from the timestamp I did one. I was quite early this morning, and then I've just done one now. So this is the new one we have today. If you go into it, this is kind of obviously registered under the A2A protocol. You can see the agent details is basically the agent card, right? You have the icon, which is I didn't use. Then you have the name, description, URL, which is the Cloud Run site, right? And you have the protocol version, the capabilities, and skills. So this is a very nice way that you can actually see the registration of the agent within Gemini Enterprise. If you click on edit, this is literally just the agent card, right? There's nothing really special about this. That's what's happening behind the scenes. The one thing I do want to show you is, so please just keep this in mind. It's very important. In IAM, right? So when you register the A2A agent on Cloud Run into Gemini Enterprise, by default, it will not have access to Cloud Run. One thing it will need is to have the Cloud Run service invoker role that attached to the Google created, which is in here. You need to tick this, otherwise you won't see it. Service account, which is called the Discovery Engine service account. This one is used by Gemini Enterprise behind the scenes. Once you enable this, it will be able to make calls to the Cloud Run endpoint. Otherwise, you run into the 403 permission problems. Just keep that in mind. Now let's go back to Gemini Enterprise. So I should be able to go to, okay, now I have two agents called exactly the same name, which is not great. Let me just delete the old one. Which one is the old one? Yeah, I'm going to delete this one. Now, if I go to overview, I would have a endpoint which allows me to go into the new tab. Right, this is the Gemini Enterprise interface. Think this as a very powerful GUI that you can do what you normally do with Gemini and the model itself, such as you can see the 2.5 and 2.5 Pro, right? You can also use things like Notebook, LM, idea generation, and deep research. But the most important thing, or in addition to that, is you also have agents. So here you can build your own agents. You can build no-code agents, but also you can build the A2A weather agent, right? Such as the one we just registered under the A2A protocol. There are two ways you can use this agent. You could, if you just click on it and just say, you go in here and then you can start using this. This is very, very similar to what you do with ADK Web. But now you're actually using the A2A protocol to communicate with it directly, right? So it's even giving some very useful prompt in here that you can look at the capabilities. Now you can see you can provide weather information. You can also change this if you wanted to go faster and you care less about the reasoning. You can always use 2.5 Flash. But all I can say is, tell me the weather in London, right? Keep in mind, this is hard-coded because it's a boilerplate. So it's always going to give 90 degrees and sunny, right? So, but obviously you can implement whatever you like in the tools, talking to other database services or other ground truth that in your organization. Very powerful, but this is now working within Gemini Enterprise. I want to also show you a different way that you can call the A2A weather agent. You can go to new chat And in here, you can literally just do add, and then you can select the agent you want to invoke. So in here, you can also say, what's the weather in London? Then the agent will do exactly the same thing, right? This is very powerful because you can have a generic interface. You just reference whichever agent you want to call. In summary, if you are a Gemini Enterprise user already, what I've just showed you is now a new way to register to deploy an agent using agent starter pack to Cloud Run implementing the A2A protocol. Now you can register those A2A compatible agents into Gemini Enterprise using agent card, right? Once you register them in Gemini Enterprise, it will be just like all the other agents you've deployed with Agent Engine, and you can also use them here. And so this means it's not just limited if you're using Agent Engine, but if you're using Cloud Run as well, now you can use the A2A protocol to bring your agent into Gemini Enterprise. So now you've seen how we can use Agent Starter Pack to deploy a ADK agent implementing the A2A protocol on Cloud Run. You can use the agent from anywhere, right? As simple as a simple Python client, or as you can bring them into powerful systems such as Gemini Enterprise. But there's few key things stays consistent, right? So first of all, there is no vendor lock-in because now previously you might be using a particular SDK, a particular framework that your agent would implement a protocol that is not open. Right now with A2A, you now expose your agent in the open protocol, then it doesn't matter what is the other side of the whether that's your own applications, whether it's German Enterprise, whether there's any other applications that you want to talk to your agent, it now all implements this single protocol, and that's exposed through the agent card, right? Um, because this really allows you to scale, right? You can compose, build very specialized agents because now you have a way to manage them, right? You have a way to observe them. You can see like where they're deployed, what they do, right? Who is using them. Now all through the protocol, you can now either use them independently or you can use them as larger workflows when they get complex. And because they're all implementing the same protocol, you can, I wouldn't say easily, but you have ways to manage these agents at scale, right? Then the enterprise grade, where this is where, to recap, the why I think German Enterprise can be very useful because you don't have to keep building graphical user interfaces, manage your security, manage your authorization, authentication, to build many different tools that potentially has very similar user interfaces that can be maybe replaced by a single platform such as Gemini Enterprise with a conversational interface, right? So this can all be further combined with other ground truth data in organizations, which makes the communication between these agents very powerful. So now we have one agent that we can deploy, or many agents we can deploy, implementing the A2A protocol on Cloud Run, now registered with Gemini Enterprise, or using other systems to access the agent, or following this common and open protocol, right? So this really makes it reusable, interoperable, and very powerful within the enterprise. So yeah, that's my view. Hopefully you think this is useful that I've shared throughout. There's quite a lot of content today. Some of these are high level, some of these are low level. Hopefully you find this useful, and I'll see you next time.